Well, hi there. Welcome to the Movie Review Mom YouTube channel. Thank you so much if you're a subscriber returning. I really appreciate that. And if you are brand new to my channel, yay, you found me. I'm so glad. My goal is to give you the heads up on filmmaking quality and content so that you can make the best decision as to whether or not you want to spend time or money or both watching a specific film. So the specific film I'm reviewing today is called Come Out Fighting. This World War II thriller will be in theaters and on demand on May 19th, 2023. The movie is rated R and is an hour and 25 minutes. And the movie review mom grade I'm giving it is a B+. Now, I know very few film critics, if any, tell you their score at the very beginning of their review. So keep watching. Don't just run off now. Find out why I'm giving it the grade that I am. So I'm going to give you an overview in a nutshell where I'll point out things I liked and didn't like, as well as offer tips for parents, themes worth talking about, and interesting lines, funny lines, and recommendations for other films that are sort of similar that I think you might also like. All right, does that sound good? Let's dive in. In a nutshell, the gritty World War II movie was written and directed by Stephen Luke, who also did Operation Seawolf, which I reviewed that one, so check out my movie review on that one. Battle of the Bulge, Winter War. It was produced by Stephen Luke, Dean Bloxham, and Andre Relis. So the movie is set in World War II, and it's kind of an adventure film where a small specialized squad of U.S. Army African American soldiers are sent to an unofficial rescue mission behind enemy lines to locate their missing commanding officer. The squad, upon battling their way through German defenses, encounters more than they bargained for when they locate a downed U.S. Army fighter pilot. So with the help of their friends and the 761st Tank Battalion, known as the Black Panthers, the squad must find a way to survive and make it back in one piece. This film was inspired by the story of the 761st Tank Battalion, although the actual movie story is fictional. All right, so there were a lot of things I really liked about this movie. First of all, the movie features great performances by Michael J. White, who we saw in The Dark Knight, among other films, Tyrese Gibson, who's known for the Fast and Furious franchise, Kellen Lutz from the Twilight Saga, Hiram A. Murray, also from Operation Seawolf, and the fan favorite Dolph Lundgren, also known famously for Rocky IV. The movie starts off with an action sequence and immediately pulls you in. I always like that. There's beautiful cinematography by Joseph Leffler. Not so fun fact is that during World War II, Black soldiers were not allowed to fight alongside whites. It's extremely impressive that so many African Americans still signed up in the Army to fight for a country that didn't treat them as equals. We see a lot of that represented in this film. The title of the movie is taken from the motto and the insignia of this courageous Black battalion. If you like war movies with lots of explosions and battles and destruction, this one is for you. General George S. Patton is represented in the movie and is played by Gary David Keast. Patton had a very favorable reputation among the Black soldiers in real life during the war. The Tuskegee Airmen also get a little shout out in the story, although the movie isn't about their red tails. That's an inspiring story as well. Now, there were a few things that I didn't like or just thought could have been done better or differently. For example, some of the visual effects and sound effects aren't that realistic. Fans of Dolph Lundgren will be probably disappointed that he doesn't engage in action in this war movie. He doesn't even pick up a gun, if I remember correctly. He's top brass and just sits behind a desk. He gets out in the field in a army truck or whatever they're called and bark some orders around, but that's it. Of course, he does all of that in a very manly way. We saw the same thing in a movie called Operation Seawolf. And again, I heard comments from fans who were disappointed that, he wasn't in the thick of the action. He's aging, and so it's just fun to see him in a movie do anything, really, at this point. The made-up scars on Lundgren's face on one side just look super fake and even different kind of from scene to scene. So that was disappointing, especially because so many people were excited to see him and were really closely watching him in the film. The 761st Tank Battalion is depicted as always angry and consistently disobedient to orders. And maybe they really were in order to get things done, which is how it's also shown in this film. But it kind of shows a little bit of disrespect for the military. And I don't know if that was intentional because it's true, or they were just trying to make a point. I don't know. While I'm a fan of World War II movies, I'm definitely no history expert. And so I imagine that Army vets and true historians will be able to point out a lot of inaccuracies in the film. Again, I don't know what was necessarily accurate or not because it's a fictional story, but the tanks and the uniforms and all that kind of stuff, I can't speak to that. But I thought it looked pretty good. There's one thing that kind of bugged me, and there's this scene where some Germans take the time and the effort to hang some prisoners rather than just shoot them right there on the spot. That didn't seem very believable or even rational, considering they just shoot everybody anyway, right? However, it was convenient and a choice to allow the good guys more time to be rescued, right? Because if they just shot them, it'd be over. But so I was just like, well, okay, that's one thing I can point out that probably wasn't realistic. Now, I know there are rules of war and engagement, and maybe they're supposed to capture the prisoners, but they were getting ready to hang them. So the whole thing just didn't really ring accurate to me. Now, there are also a lot of lines that are spoken between overacted, gritted teeth, often making it difficult to understand what was said. You know what I mean? I know they were angry, but sometimes it's too much. And I was like, hey, say that again? What now? So let me give you some tips for parents. I think most kids are going to be bored. There's a lot of talking. Now, there is a lot of action and a lot of weapons and that kind of stuff. So if kids are really into that, then they might tolerate all of the talking scenes. And in the talking scenes, however, there is a lot of profanity, including a lot of F-bombs. There's lots of fighting with various weapons, very high dead body count, and we see a lot of dead bodies, lots of destruction and explosions, as I mentioned. Now, that being said, there were a lot of themes that were illustrated very well in the movie, such as racism, patriotism, sacrifice, honor, self-restraint. That always impresses me with these African-American soldiers who were not treated equally. And when they did obey orders, I was just like, especially if the order was coming from some cocky jerk white guy, they were always, well, not always, but they often showed restraint and self-control and respect in some of those moments. And then overall, that brotherhood. Now, I have a son who's currently serving in the Army, and he loves that brotherhood aspect. I have 4 sons, so he knows brotherhood from his 3 brothers, but he really loves that camaraderie and that unique bond that is formed in the military. And I recognize that is a powerful bond. All right, so I always write down funny lines and interesting lines just so I can share them with you so you can get a taste for the script writing and the dialogue. I didn't write down any funny lines because it really is a serious drama. There were a few times where the Army brothers are goofing around, but there wasn't anything noteworthy that I wrote down. However, I did write down some interesting lines that are also insightful. So Lieutenant Robert Hayes, who is played by Hiram A. Murray, said, "The best thing you can do in war is to have no fear." And I thought that was really a good line because war is scary. And if you're frightened, you're not going to be an effective soldier. And so he was trying to give counsel to someone who was very frightened about a specific situation. And then General George S. Patton is talking, and he's talking to this battalion of these African-American soldiers, and he says, I don't care what color you are, as long as you go up there and kill those proud SOBs, talking about the Nazis, of course. And then he also was talking to that group, and he says, I never would have asked for you if you weren't good, because, they were like, well, are you just humoring us because we're Black, or what's the deal? And he was really complimentary to these soldiers. And then a final line that he says is, everyone has their eye on you and is expecting great things from you. So as opposed to some of the racist comments other soldiers made, he was very complimentary and very supportive. And from what I gather, because of his reputation among the Black soldiers, he really was that way in real life. And that is great to hear. All right, so I instantly thought of some other films as I was watching this one. The first one is called The Edge of War. Also World War II movies. Actually, I think all of these movies that I'm going to recommend are World War II movies. Another one is a documentary called To What Remains. And it is just powerful and touched my heart so much so that at the end of the movie, when they asked for donations, I donated. I just thought what they were doing was so important. The movie specifically involves some airline pilots, not airline, what do I want to say? Fighter pilots during World War II, and how their planes went down, and they tried to find the missing pilot or to find the rest of the story and take pictures of the area and the plane and whatnot to bring closure to the families who never found out what happened. Their soldiers were just MIA. So it's very sweet if you're interested in that. And then the last one, and the reason I mentioned that one is because there is a missing pilot in this film. All right, and then the last one is called Operation Mincemeat, and it's based on a true story, and I had never heard of it before, and I thought the movie was very well done. It involves British soldiers and pilots and secret intelligence in the UK during World War II, and I just thought it was so interesting. All right, that is it for my review today. Thank you again so much for watching. And if you found this review to be helpful, give it a thumbs up or comment down below and let me know what you think of the movie after you watch it. I always love reading your comments. Be sure and read in the description below. There's a little coupon if you want to stream the movie online, and you can learn a little bit more about my books and my daily podcast and all that kind of bunch of other stuff. So have a fantastic day, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye for now.